name is Rich Stokes. I'm the founder and the CEO of AdGooroo. We're a media measurement company which focuses on search engine advertising. So what we're going to talk about today is how search has changed, what's new, why it's important, and how you can connect it to traditional media. So a little bit about us. We started the search intelligence industry in 2004. So it's been about 10 years now. That makes us the oldest and the first provider of search engine advertising. What we do is we measure search engine ads in 50 countries throughout the world. So we know what's happening. And about a year and a half ago, we joined with Kantar Media, which is the world's largest ad intelligence company. So we don't just focus on search, we also focus on television, radio, even things such as mobile apps. Okay, so let's talk about search. What is it? In 2007, what you would typically see with search is plain text. Today, you're going to see something much more varied. Okay? In 2007, your search engine results were based on your intention, what you were looking for when you went to the search engine. Today, it's based on intention plus context. So here, I've done a search here for playhouses, and I did it from Chicago. Playhouses are theaters. Okay, so what you see on the top are plays and theaters. What you see here on the right is a map. But playhouses also means houses that kids play on. Okay? So what you're seeing here are called product listing ads. And so if you want to buy your son or your daughter something to play on in the backyard, you can click on those as well. Okay? So it's context plus intention. But there's a lot of sophisticated technology that goes on behind the scenes here to produce a page as simple and as obvious and intuitive as this. So let's talk about why it's important. This was a study by Google Think, and it's called the Zero Moment of Truth study. Has anybody heard of this? A few people, okay. So in a nutshell, this study measured the thread of what happens between the time that a consumer is first exposed to a brand to the time that they interact with it face-to-face at a store just prior to purchase. Okay? So brand advertising, one of the major goals is to reach out to these consumers and make them aware of the brand, to eventually lead them to the place of purchase. But what happens in between? Magic? No. It's called the zero moment of truth. Okay? The zero moment of truth is that time when the searcher transforms from a passive receiver of information to an active searcher of information about the product, the brand. Okay? And that is the point where you can influence them. You can exert the greatest influence in order to help them along their way to a buying decision. Okay? Now, traditionally, the greatest influencer in the zero moment of truth is word of mouth. But as marketers, you probably know how difficult it is to influence word of mouth. Today, however, what's interesting is search. Search online with a search engine has surpassed word of mouth advertising by 1%, according to the study. It is the most powerful tool at your disposal to bridge the gap between your advertising and purchase. This is another study that was done by Group M Next last year, and it was a study of 50,000 online buyers who actually completed the entire purchase funnel. What they found was that our beloved sales funnel is dead, right? No longer is it people go to your site and go to a page and put something in their cart and check out and purchase something. That's still there, but it doesn't play quite the same role as it used to before. Instead, today, what we have are people jumping around between Facebook and Twitter and Google and Amazon and your brand sites such as Louis Vuitton and who knows what else. So how do you make sense of it? Well, it turns out you can't. You can't predict where people will go. But the Group M Next people discovered that there were 6 buying segments, okay? And they varied based on where they went. So our traditional basic digital consumers go to sites like Google, they go to Amazon, and they also go to their favorite brand site like Louis Vuitton, okay? Well, then you have retail scouts who prefer Amazon, you've got brand scouts who go straight to the brand site, and you've got the cutting edge, digitally savvy segment, okay, who go to anything and everything, and they know what's new and what's hot, and they're visiting it all. So how do you market to all of them? Well, one of the insights is that you can't just do one thing online. One thing alone is not going to work. Okay? The other insight is that there is one channel that spans all 6 segments that virtually every person who buys anything online or engages with your brand online will at one point visit, and that is a search engine. That is number one. So search is different. Traditional advertising is what we call interrupt-based media. You're watching a television show and an ad comes on and interrupts the flow. You're reading an article in a magazine and here's an ad. Well, search is intention-based, okay? What that means is that instead of interrupting me, I'm actually looking for you. And that makes me much more valuable of a person, ultimately, when it comes to generating revenue. So this is why search is so important. You have to treat it differently. You can't try to lump it together with print or television or radio, but at the same time, you can't separate it either. Because we now live in a multi-screen world. We now live in a world with television. We're sitting on our couches with our laptops, with our tablets. Okay, we're watching a new commercial, the Dos Equis, right? World's most interesting man. So we watched that, and when it first broke, it was an amazing commercial, and everybody was sharing it. And they shared it on their laptops, they shared it on their mobile devices, right? So we have to plan our marketing campaigns, our digital marketing campaigns, alongside television in an integrated fashion. These things cannot be separated. Too many brand advertisers are taking search and throwing it over the wall, giving it to their agency and say, hey, just get me a return. Just get me some visitors. It doesn't work like that anymore. It has to integrate. So I want to show you an example of a company, a traditional company, that you might think has no business with Google, but you'd be wrong. It's Pepsi. Who goes to Google and searches for Pepsi, right? Not too many people. But in the February 2013 Super Bowl, Pepsi generated over 5.2 million additional engagements from search. And they did that because along with sponsoring the halftime show, they also did outdoor, they did in-store can wraps, they did YouTube videos, they did social media, and they did search. Because people came to Google looking for replays of Beyonce at the Super Bowl halftime show. So, quick show of hand. Well, actually, who wants to be brave? I'm going to give away a copy of my book. Whoever comes closest to guessing, how much did Pepsi spend on search, on this search campaign? For 4 months, they generated 5.2 million, not mere impressions, but impressions of people looking for them. What do you think they spent in euros? Anybody? 200,000. 15,000. It's free book. Guesses don't hurt. Okay. 220,000 euros, so I think you were the closest. 220,000 euros. I did the math on that, and that works out to less than a $2 CPM. $2 CPM for somebody actually looking for you. It's cheap. This is another one of my favorite examples. This is Huggies. How many here have small kids in the house? So a handful of you. I got one at home, so I'm familiar with this situation. Huggies are diapers. Huggies isn't using search to try to drive traffic, to try to drive sales. They're using it to build relationships with moms-to-be, okay? So these are some of the keywords, and it's a little bit difficult to read, but a lot of them are not related directly to diapers. Huggies runs a baby name campaign. Well, you don't even have a baby yet, and Huggies is reaching out to you. And there's one that I haven't shown you on here, and it's called How to Get Pregnant. So Huggies is really exploiting the zero moment of truth. I mean, we're not even pregnant yet. We're trying to figure it out, and Huggies is right there, you know, educating you. This is another great example. Colgate is using search for exactly the opposite reason. They're using it to expand their reach into areas where people don't necessarily know about Colgate, but need it, okay? Colgate is advertising to diabetes sufferers. It turns out people with diabetes have a higher risk of having gum disease. And so Colgate is reaching out and running ads on diabetes-related terms. Well, in the process, they're actually driving more traffic from diabetes-related terms than their own brand on search. And quite a bit more, because this is actually the word diabetes, but this chart here goes on for hundreds and hundreds of rows. Completely different example. Talked about mobile in the last session. Anybody here in the automotive category? Okay, this story should scare you. All right? Turns out that mobile, there's a lot of hype, but there is some truth to the hype in that in certain verticals, mobile is the killer app, and automotive is one of them. I go to a car lot, a retailer, and I go to look for a car, and I have a question. I pull out my cell phone, right, and I start looking for that information. And what do I find? Let's say I'm looking for a Dodge Challenger, and what do I see? A Chevy Camaro ad. So Chevrolet, who's one of the largest mobile advertisers in the US, is targeting all of their competitors' model names to try to pick off their buyers while they're on the lot. It's impressive. That's the future, and it is here right now. Here's another example. Really big difference between 2007 and 2014. Product listing ads. These are called product listing ads, PLAs. In the past, there were just text ads like these. Well, let's say I'm looking for a tablet computer. What am I more likely to click on? One of these or one of these? Right here. If you're a retailer, you have to be in product listing ads. These ads have twice the click-through rate, and they cost about 70% less on average. Okay, and if that's not good enough, imagine this. There are around anywhere between 700 and 1,000 retailers in the US selling computer electronics. And 8 of them are showing up. Not even 8, 6. There's only 6 advertisers here because a couple advertisers are twice. Best Buy and Walmart are shown twice. Only 6 advertisers are getting their products front and center on Google when people are searching for these tablets. It's a big innovation. By the way, this was unthinkable in 2007. If you went to Google and said, hey, I want to put an image ad on Google, people would have said, you're crazy. People hate images on search engines. They don't. They love them. They love the right kinds of images. But there's a problem. Any luxury brands in here? No? Okay, there goes my hope for a free Breitling. This is Breitling. It's my favorite watch in the world. I did a search for here, and what do we see here? 5 ads from 3 companies selling Breitlings, and it's luxury. And what is one thing that a luxury brand hates more than anything else? Well, it's competing on price. They compete on experience, right? Well, front and center is the price, and some of these prices are 30 to 40% off what Breitling's charging. Can anybody spot the Breitling ad in here? The real Breitling ad? Anybody see it? I didn't actually even think there was one until yesterday. I was reviewing the slides. Here it is. Oh, actually, I take that back. No, sorry, it's not. Breitling's not even showing up. It's a Breitling dealer. So this is broken. If you're a luxury brand, PLAs are not what you want to see, but you should be aware of them because you have to understand what the retailers are doing to you. The retailers are using search to train people to go for the best price on the search engine. Okay? And that's a long-term strategic disadvantage, or advantage, depending on your viewpoint. I'd like to see it a different way. This is a little experiment I like to run, and it's inspired by Baidu. Baidu has something called Brand Zone, where they know people are looking for certain brands, and so they highlight them front and center. And I want to ask you guys, I'm assuming most of you, if not everybody in here, has used Google. How many would find an ad like this useful? Show of hands. You look for Breitling and you see a latest model. How many of you would find it disruptive and you wouldn't like it? So about 50-50. Actually, about 5, and 90 don't care either way, right? So this is what I like to see in the future of search. There's some more challenges. This is going to be really surprising. If you ever run search, you know that all the information's out there. Heck, I just gave away all the information to this fine young lady who won the contest here a moment ago. All the information you need to know to compete and win in search. So you would think with everybody having access to this knowledge, it should be fairly democratic. It's not. 1% of advertisers are capturing 80% of all clicks on Google. So about 1.5 million advertisers around the world, less than 15,000 globally, are dominating Google. Why is that? They're doing it because Google and search engine advertising has management overhead. It has time requirements, okay? Attention. Somebody has to be asking the right questions. And the thing that we're seeing, the thing that we're not seeing right now that we need to see happen is you have to ask the right questions, particularly if you're the one who's standing away from the campaign. You're not running it yourself. You have to go in there and ask those right questions. Let me show you a few more of these. This is US retailers. So 1% are capturing 84% of all search clicks. It's not just the US though. In the UK, here's another chart. Hotels capturing 82% of all search clicks. And in France, among wireless and phone carriers, 81% of all search traffic is captured just by 1%. Put it in a different way, that other 99% are fighting for that little bit of traffic. They're getting nothing. Unless you think I cherry-picked those examples, these are 10 categories in the US, UK, and France, all of which have this 1% capturing 80% of the traffic. So this probably covers most of the brands here at the conference, so this should be of interest. So along the lines of those questions, here's my takeaway. You should be looking at your partners, your agencies who are managing search, and asking them some tough questions. Forget the numbers. The numbers are boring. The numbers don't really mean that much in the grand scheme of things because search, we saw with Pepsi, I have no idea how many tens of millions of dollars they spent in the Super Bowl, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. To spend $200,000 on search, who cares? Okay, so the numbers aren't that important. What they should be asking are, who are the biggest competitors? Who's Pepsi competing with? Right? How am I comparing against them? I want to know this with, in the automotive category, for instance. This is a very big thing with Ford and Chevy, the top two advertisers on both desktop and mobile. What are their strategies? Chevy, we saw them picking off buyers at the car lot on mobile devices. Well, that's a heck of a strategy. I'll tell you another one. I was doing a little bit of work for a manufacturer in France, and we saw what they, along with them, they looked at a competitor in London. And their competitor was offering 2 years of automotive insurance free when they bought the car. That's a heck of an offer, right? Is it aligned with other advertising channels? Along with the Super Bowl, there's a consumer packaged goods company in the US. They spend a tremendous amount of time focusing on ad copy. What they actually do is they'll run 2 commercials. They have 2 commercials ready 60 seconds before they're about to air, and they decide which one to run based on a focus group. That is a tremendous amount of time and effort focused on creative. I asked the same company what ads they were running on the search engines. They didn't know. Their agency didn't tell them. What are my competitors saying? And what opportunities am I missing? That same auto manufacturer in France, their strategy was focusing on hybrid and electric vehicles in the UK, and they weren't appearing on 75% of the searches by British searchers related to hybrid vehicles. Oops. And then finally, is your agency doing a good job? Are they telling you they're doing a good job? Are they giving you numbers? How do you know? You got to find this out. These are the questions that you should be asking. All right, thanks everyone.